pretty much been putting the call out that because more Americans are moving away from their support to Israel, that we predicted there would be more false flags happening on U.S. soil. We have two just recently that have happened. One of them involves a bomb threat with a Southwest airline. Now, this plane, from what I understand, was flying out of Nashville to Fort Lauderdale. It says they were forced to divert to Atlanta late last night. Here are multiple angles of the debacle. Allegedly, a male on board threatened to blow the plane up with a bomb. The SWAT team apprehended the passenger while passengers remained seated. Check this out.
This time we need everybody to have their heads down and hands up. Heads down, hands up. Heads down, hands up. Heads down, hands up. I need to see everyone's hands. Heads down, hands up. Heads down, hands up.
Let's go. Everybody heads down. Stand up. Stand up.
What a scary, frightening experience, right? Local news has covered this. Not a lot of outlets have covered it, but people getting on a plane in Nashville to go to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, just going about their day, minding their own business. And then there's a report that there's a bomb threat on the plane. I've been telling you that more of these false flags are going to be an issue, because what the Epstein class wants is for us to be obedient to Israel and the Israel project. So if they can implement false flags here on American soil, well, then they can say, well, it's terrorists who tried to bomb the plane or terrorists who tried to do this. Americans will become fearful. And the hope is that they too then will change their mind and be obedient to Israel. That's one of them. They didn't have a lot of information on that story, just that there was a bomb threat that was called in. And then there is what happened in New York City. Just the other day, police arrested 6 people after a smoke generating suspicious device was thrown during a protest at New York City mayor's residence on Saturday. There are 2 different versions of this story that is being told. We're going to show you both of them. But 6 were arrested. Now, again, ABC News is reporting that this suspicious device was thrown outside of Zohran Mamdani's home. The next one, which is NBC News. NBC News is reporting 2 are in custody after suspicious devices were found outside of Gracie Mansion amid the anti-Islam protests. So you have 2 already saying that it was outside of Gracie Mansion, which of course is where the mayor resides. So why are you getting another version of this story, which says something different? Now I want to show you the other side. There were 2 protests that happened in New York City. One was a counter protest and Jake Lang was a part of a protest. Jake Lang has been going across the country. He's a nationalist, white supremacist, going across the country, basically stirring up shit. And then he'll record people attacking him, but try not to record what he does. Right? So Olia, I believe that's how you pronounce her name, Olia Scootcaster. She has the video of what happens right outside of Gracie Mansion. NYPD IDs both suspects after attempted bomb attack on outside of Gracie Mansion. Again, outside of the mansion. Device is a jar wrapped in black tape with nut bolts and screws and fuse inside. The video shows the second suspect pass bomb along to another. The second suspect being arrested by NYPD outside of Gracie Mansion. Close up of the device. So here's a close up here. This is Gracie Mansion. Watch this. There's the suspicious device there. So you see those two guys that were arrested. They're the ones that they're showing in the video through this device. But somehow Jake Lane says that they were attacking him. Someone already said it in the chat. They said Mossad working overtime. Yeah. Because see, what happens a lot of times, if you've never participated in protests, a lot of times people have infiltrated these protests. So you have the majority of people there in good faith, peacefully protesting. And then you have those that are agitators that join the protest and they cause some type of violence. And then that makes the whole thing just basically get shut down or whatever. You got to ask where these two guys came from. Who are these two guys? Were they really a part of the protest or were they infiltrators? My thing would say is that they were infiltrators. We've seen this type of thing happen over and over again. So you see again the device there.
Stop moving! Guys, clear the page! Clear the page! Guys, move back! Let's go! Right now. Back up,
Now, see, they just happened to look the part, right? Because what Jake Lane goes on to say is that it was two Muslims that tried to assassinate him. This is how you know. I've told you guys before about these infiltrators and about these false flags. So, again, right outside of Gracie Mansion. Do you see Jake Lane here? No, not right there, do you? Okay. So, listen to the other way that this story was told. Jake Lane comes in and goes, I just survived an assassination attempt by these two Muslim men. The homemade bomb they threw landed 3 feet in front of me. The detonator failed to ignite because God is on the throne of my life. We will never surrender to Islam. So this guy, like I said, Jake Lane, is always the victim somehow. Always the victim, no matter what happens. So where is Jake Lane? Do you see what I mean? So yeah, doesn't look like they were targeting him now, does it? So Gen X girl was on it. She's been watching this very closely. She said, Jake is trying to repeat this, right? This was another counter protest thing that he was a part of. And he wants something like this to happen again. With this particular situation, there was footage of this actually happening. Doesn't have footage of or video, footage or pictures of it happening to him this time. So he just puts out the statement anyway. And then something else people may not be aware of. Jake Lane has had 5 GoFundMe campaigns where he collects money from suckers who think he's doing good when all he does is cause riots. 5 of them. This person shares here, careful, his whole family is in the IDF. Jake Lang and his Israeli Air Force medic sister, all of them, has 5 Give, Send, Go J6 prisoner fundraisers. So Jake Lane is a con. He's a con man. That's it. This guy's just getting money from people, going to protests, a lot of times from what I've seen, causing the havoc, and then using video footage and saying this person attacked me for no reason. That's Jake Lane. So you see that here. Now, what I just showed you, I want you to compare that to what Commissioner Tish says here. Pay attention.
Good afternoon. I am here to brief you on a situation that occurred earlier today during protests outside of Gracie Mansion, from which footage of suspicious devices has been circulating on social media. The information that I am about to provide is preliminary and it is subject to change.
Now you have to remember who she is. Don't forget, she's pro-Israel. She's a Zionist. This is the person that Zohran Mamdani supporters did not want him to keep as a part of his team. So you already know what side she's on.
At approximately 11 a.m., 2 separate demonstrations, a protest and a counter-protest, commenced in the area of East End Avenue and East 87th Street. The initial protest, called Stop the Islamic Takeover of New York City, Stop New York City Public Muslim Prayer, organized by individuals associated with far-right provocateur Jake Lang, drew approximately 20 participants. The counter-protest, Run the Nazis Out of New York City, Stand Against Hate, took place nearby with roughly 125 participants at its peak. Both groups were separated into designated protest areas by NYPD officers. Shortly before noon, tensions escalated between individuals in the 2 groups. At 12:15 p.m., a protester associated with the Jake Lang group used pepper spray against counter-protesters and was arrested thereafter. At approximately 12:38 p.m., a counter-protester identified as Amir Balat, an 18-year-old man, lit and threw an ignited device toward the protest area, landing in the crosswalk of East 87th Street and East End Avenue.
So she already identified the 2 guys who Jake Lang said was Muslim as counter protesters. I would call them infiltrators. For all we know, they could have been paid to do this. You probably will never get the full story, but this type of thing has happened over and over again, where people take advantage of the situation that's happening and they say, okay, well, you go in and do this. This also happened during the Vietnam protests. There were infiltrators there. There were feds that were implemented in different organizing groups, helping out the police, causing more chaos. Most of the protests are peaceful. It's the agitators and these infiltrators that come in to make it violent.
Witnesses reported seeing flames and smoke as it traveled through the air before it struck a barrier and extinguished itself a few feet from police officers. Mr. Balat then ran southbound on East End Avenue toward 86th Street and gets a second device from a man tentatively ID'd as Ibrahim Nick, 19 years old. Mr. Balat lights the device and starts running with it. He then drops the device on the west side of East End Avenue between East 86th and East 87th Streets. Officers immediately secured the area and they took both men into custody. This was all captured on NYPD Argus camera. The bomb squad responded and examined the devices. Based on preliminary examination and X-ray imaging, the devices, which were a bit smaller than a football, appear to be a jar wrapped in black tape, importantly with nuts, bolts, and screws, along with a hobby fuse that could be lit. At this time, We do not yet know whether the devices were functional improvised explosive devices or hoax devices, because we don't yet know if there was energetic material contained in them. Both recovered devices are being transported by the bomb squad in a total containment vessel to Rodman's Neck for further testing and analysis. Following the discovery of the devices, officers established a safety perimeter around the area and began a comprehensive search for any additional hazards. That includes canine sweeps as well as manual canvassing of the surrounding blocks, which includes inspections of garbage cans, underneath vehicles, and other locations where additional devices could potentially be hidden.
So, something that I want to point out, those two guys were arrested. The gentleman who spit or something like that, that was a part of the other group, was arrested. Jake Lane not. He seems to get out of these situations quite easily. Find that interesting. He's on the side of Commissioner Tish. They're both on the same side. They're both pro-Israel, right? So one thing that I want to point out is we don't actually have any proof that those two guys were a part of the protest. This has happened time and time again. That's why I say, they could have been, and they could have been infiltrators, but they also could have been just two random dudes that saw the protest taking place and took advantage of that. They could have been paid to do what they did. We may never know. Commissioner Tish, notice, not yet, still hasn't mentioned Zohran Mamdani's name, and this device was dropped right outside of Gracie's mansion where he lives. All of the other outlets have reported, as I showed you, that this was an attempt to attack him. Zohran Mamdani. The other one, same thing. Zohran Mamdani. That was his house. So I just want you to think about something for just a second, because if it were the other way around, if Zohran Mamdani, let's be real, if Zohran Mamdani was Israeli or pro-Israel, whatever, and this device was dropped outside of his house, there would be no doubt in their mind that this was a deliberate attack on him. We have been telling people about the Islamophobia in this country. We've been telling people over and over and over again. But for Commissioner Tish, she's not going to go that far because it doesn't work for her narrative. Her narrative has been, it's rising anti-Semitism, and we got to stop that and fight back against that. And don't forget, I believe we were one of the shows and some others, when we first started covering this last drop of the Epstein files, we were the one that had to tell you that the Tish, who owns the New York Giants, that was mentioned in the Epstein files, is her relative. So these type of flags, they're going to continue to happen because, like I told you guys, they want to convince you that there is chaos. Now, pay attention to what the White House is doing. I don't know why this is angled this way. Oh, I guess it is just like that. Okay. So pay attention to what the White House is doing. Look at this here. The White House is blocking the FBI and top U.S. intelligence agencies from warning law enforcement across the country about new terror threats to the homeland tied to the war with Iran. You heard me correctly here. You guys see this? Eric, what's going on with? Okay, there we go. You get this? The White House is blocking the FBI and top U.S. intelligence agencies from warning law enforcement across the country about new terror threats to the homeland tied to the war with Iran. That means more false flags are coming. Like, I'm not kidding when I tell you guys, this administration is crazy. This goes far above and beyond anything I have seen. They're just doing whatever they want. And there's no accountability. They're all complicit. The FBI, the intelligence agencies, the White House, all of this is working together. I wouldn't doubt for a moment if those two guys weren't paid. I'd also question that bomb threat for that Southwest airline. I'd also question if that was actually real. It's happening all over the place. Cactus said the false flags are global now. Trust me. Here you go. They want you to be afraid. They want you to fear. The Epstein class, they want you to be afraid and bow in submission to the Netanyahu government and the Epstein class. I don't know if I can remember a more chaotic time, but you see the false flags. It's not just about what's happening abroad. It's also about what's happening right here. Chaos has erupted, but let me tell you something. This is nothing yet. Let those gas prices continue to rise and get out of control. Donald Trump's statement was, oh, well, if it increases, it increases. That's what he said. Oh, well. Let people start to struggle a lot more economically, because you think you're seeing chaos now. You ain't seen nothing yet. But get ready, folks, because it's getting crazier and crazier out there. Hey, guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.